Good morning. I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Monroe County Board of Commissioners. It is Thursday, February 6th. I will note for the record that all three commissioners are present here in the Nat U Hill Room, and we'll begin with our public statement read by Commissioner Madeira.
We, the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, renew our commitment to welcome and protect the rights of all people, regardless of age, race, color, creed, disability, sexual orientation, gender identity, marital status, economic status, and national origin. And we affirm the right of every person to live peacefully and without fear. And we will fight and resist at every step discrimination and harmful policies, whatever their source. We believe in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging. We also stand in support of our county public school systems, both RBB and MCC-SC.
Thank you so much. We will now move on to department updates. I see Ms. Kelly is joining us from the Health Department.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Emergency department visits for COVID-like illnesses are still increasing across the state, but here locally, our wastewater detections are trending down. The Health Department does still have free COVID tests available for the public. You can come in Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. to receive those tests. Flu activity remains high, and there were 2 flu-associated deaths within the state last week. And as always, our public health clinic has vaccines available for all ages. You can call 812-353-3244 for an appointment.
Great, thank you so much, Ms. Kelly. Comments or questions? Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Madeira?
No, thank you.
TSD, we have, again, captions that are in black print on a black background. So if you could adjust, we'd appreciate it. Thank you so much. Are there any other departments that have an update to offer? You can raise your hand on Teams or come to the podium. Perfect. Thank you, TSD. Seeing none, we do have a proclamation today. This is a proclamation for Black History Month. Whereas from our country's earliest days, African Americans have strengthened our nation by leading reforms and breaking down barriers. From soldiers fighting in the Revolutionary War to poet Amanda Gorman's moving inaugural poem at President Biden's inauguration. And we remember the work of civil rights leaders such as Martin Luther King Jr. and John Lewis, who have challenged us to exercise relentless vigilance to ensure that voting remains free and accessible to all citizens, even as new challenges emerge.
And whereas this Black History Month theme is African Americans in labor, we acknowledge that European and American peoples forcibly captured Africans and brought them to American shores where they were enslaved and exploited for labor and knowledge. Africans were strangers in a country that denied their human dignity and devalued their lives. After fighting for their freedom in the Civil War, African Americans grappled with racist laws and racial extremists for basic labor and civil rights, risking their lives to access economic and educational opportunities. And whereas to help combat the exploitation of Black labor, wage inequality, and discrimination based on race, sex, and gender, Black labor leaders have organized for better working conditions and fair compensation. Black women such as union executive and women's rights activist Addie Wyatt advocated for better working conditions, reproductive rights, and wage increases.
We recognize the many ways that labor and work of all types, involuntary and voluntary, have indelibly shaped the collective experiences of Black people and the American communities they have helped to build, transform, and sustain, laying paths for other civil reform movements. The legacy of Black labor is one of advocacy, social justice advocacy to police accountability, to combating systemic racism. Now, therefore, we, the Monroe County Board of Commissioners, proclaim February 2025 as Black History Month. Proclaim the 6th day of February.
All right, thank you so much. We will now move on to public comment. Public comment is reserved for items that are not on our agenda. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes or less, and please give us your name and county of residence. You may raise your hand on Teams or come to the podium here in the Nat U Hill room. All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our next agenda item, please.
Move approval of the minutes for January 30th, 2025.
I second that motion.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any comments, corrections, or edits? I sent some over last week. All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes for January 30th, 2025, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Move approval of the claims docket, accounts payable February 6th, 2025, and payroll February 7th, 2025.
Second.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second, and we have Ms. Gallardo from the Auditor's Office. Good morning.
Good morning. The accounts payable claims docket for February 6, 2025 totals $13,580,694.69. The payroll docket for February 7, 2025 includes $1,607,875.26 in direct costs, and the remaining $685,716.51 were for indirect costs, for a grand total of $2,293,591.77.
Okay, thank you so much. Comments or questions? Commissioner Madeira?
None.
Commissioner Jones?
I don't.
All right, any public comment on this item? You may raise your hand on Teams or come to the podium. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the claims docket, accounts payable February 6, 2025, and payroll February 27, 2025, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. We have not received any reports this week, and we will move on to new business with item A, please.
Move approval of Resolution 2025-06, multiple offices surplus property.
We have a motion
I second.
and a second. Mr. Kreider. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. Richard Kreider, Building and Fleet Manager. This request is to accept the declaration of the following items for surplus from the Monroe County Highway Department: a generator, water pump, some used wheels and tires, and scrap cable. They're going to make an attempt to auction these items on GovDeals. Anything metal that doesn't sell will be sold as scrap. The used tires disposed of at Team and Tire. The Courthouse Maintenance Department, a warrant office chair that'll be thrown away as garbage and replaced with new. From the Prosecutor's Office, a worn desk piece no longer usable for the intended purpose. The furniture will be dismantled, with the metal being sold as scrap and the top disposed of as garbage. From the Youth Services Bureau, a worn office chair, a broken stackable chair, and a broken table that will be disposed of as garbage.
All right, thank you so much. Comments or questions? Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Madeira?
No, thank you.
All makes sense. Thank you so much for putting this together. Any public comment on this item? You may raise your hand on Teams or come to. All right, seeing none. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2025-06, multiple offices surplus property, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item B, please.
Move approval of Resolution 2025-07.
I second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Ms. Neville, good morning.
So I'm here to request the adoption of the draft plan of the 2025 Hazard Mitigation Plan. So every 5 years, we review and update this plan as required from FEMA. So we're required to maintain this plan to receive federal disaster funding. But anytime we get together with the community and talk about our hazards and the things we want to do to prevent and mitigate those hazards, we're going to absolutely do. So now, some of the comments that I've received is that, there's only 10 hazards on here. So this only looks at natural hazards. So that's why, there are things like bioterrorism and things like that have been left off. So.
Anything else you wanted to add, or we're good for questions?
I just wanted to bring attention to the very end. There's some mitigation practices that myself and the group have outlined. They can be a little intimidating because some of them are pie in the sky. I just wanted to say that there are a range of mitigation practices that we've outlined, like some of the things we absolutely have plans to do probably this year, which a commodity flow study is on our agenda to complete. That's looking at all of the hazardous materials that flow in and out of our county, like through the highways, through the rail system, et cetera. So that we absolutely plan to do, but some of the things may not be the most feasible, but we wanted to make sure and get those on there and draw attention to them. So like, elevating Mount Tabor Road at Bean Blossom Creek is not something that we're going to run right out and do, but we wanted to make sure that, it was on the attention list. Some other things like bringing confined space training for the fire departments and hardening the fire stations. We bring those things up because this plan is also used to drive grants. So that's a little bit of the purpose behind those things.
Great, let's see if there's any comments or questions. Commissioner Jones?
Yes, I found the plan quite interesting. Thank you for all the work that's gone into it. In the section on flooding, I was a little surprised that the problems with impervious surfaces weren't addressed at all.
Oh. Yes. So we can always bring that back up for discussion with the group that we had originally discussed that with. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Impervious surfaces are a problem when it comes to flooding. The runoff overwhelms our natural waterways quite quickly, and even our man-made waterways.
And I wonder too if that could be connected with working with the planning department, because that's where that is addressed, and also stormwater. Did you have other questions?
That's it.
I had none. I just thank you for the plan. It was very detailed, and I enjoyed reading it.
So I had questions about a couple of little typos and whatnot, and then I said, but wait a minute, public comment doesn't close till next week, but we're approving the plan today, but there is a deadline.
Right, there is a deadline with the grant, and that is tomorrow. So, but we are able to change things as it states in the resolution. We do have an open time to be able to change things as we need to. So, yes, we are not bound by the deadline to be able to make changes.
Yeah, excellent. So we can think about
Yes.
impervious surfaces. So where can, besides our packet, where else can the public find the plan and make comments?
So it is on our county website in the emergency management side.
The deadline?
The 11th,
Okay.
February 11th.
Okay. Thank you. Excellent. All right. So let's see if there's any public comment on this item. You can raise your hand on Teams or come to the podium. In that you Hill. None. All those in favor of approving Resolution 2025-07, the multi-hazard mitigation plan adoption, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Good luck. All right. Next item, please.
Move approval of garage door doctor agreement, fund names, County General, Parks Reverting and Non-Reverting. Fund numbers 1,000, 1178, and 1179 in an amount not to exceed $1,000 per repair and not to exceed $10,000 total.
A second.
All right, we have a motion and we have a second. Ms. Whitmer, good morning.
Good morning. We have very large commercial garage doors, and they do break, and our staff needs assistance in fixing them, and we have one currently broken. So, Garage Door Doctor, we want to try them out and see how they do. We've tried other vendors and not been very successful, so we would like Garage Door Doctor.
Comments or questions? Commissioner Madeira?
None.
Commissioner Jones?
Yes, I'd like to hear what you think of garage door
Excellent.
doctors.
Alrighty.
Thank you.
Yeah, so the reason for this sort of open-ended contract is so that you can get immediate assistance
Yes.
if you need it, and you don't have to wait to come here
Correct.
to get a
Correct.
contract approved.
And we also want to maybe do some yearly maintenance on
That'd be
these
good.
are very large doors.
Great. Thank
Very
you.
heavy.
Thank you so much. All right, let's see if there's any public comment on this item. You can raise your hand on Teams or come to the podium. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the garage door doctor agreement signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item, please.
Move approval of the Centerstone MOU for reentry programs. Fund name, Justice Partners, SIM 93.788. Fund number 8160 in the grant amount of $56,459.
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Mr. Williams, tell us all about it, please.
Good morning. I'm here for the yearly approval of this MOU. This is coming from the Office of Court Services, a grant, the Sequential Intercept Model. We've been receiving this grant since 2019. We've kind of done a few different things with it over the course of the years. COVID kind of threw our plan in chaos. But what I would tell you is in 2024, we had our very first successful year. So the current plan, for those that aren't aware, when a person signs up for probation, it's very difficult to have that warm handoff to a treatment agency. And so this grant allows us to have Centerstone in our office to be able to do those intakes immediately. So in 2024, Centerstone was in our office 2 times a week doing 6 assessments a week. We completed over 150 assessments during that time. We had quite a few still no-shows, but the success rate was a lot more. And if you remember, I came to you last year with a grant amendment because the plan was so popular. So this year's contract allows for us to have a total of 16 assessments a week, more than double our goal from 2024. So I will answer any questions that you would have.
All right, thank you so much. Comments or questions? Commissioner Jones?
Yes, so is it Centerstone who actually makes the decision who will be a part of the program? Or is that decided by the judges or?
So
The
when a
participants?
person is placed on probation, we have an intake team that does an initial assessment, and they'll determine whether a person should go on to Centerstone for a full clinical assessment. So we kind of do the initial screening and then make the referral from there. Clients do get a choice in what agency. So we have multiple partners in the community that can provide the services, but Centerstone is the one that is in the office.
Thank you.
Commissioner Madeira, comments or questions?
Yes, I just had one quick one. Is this the process by which people enter the problem-solving court system here?
No,
That's a separate assessment. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. This is really valuable.
Yeah, I'm really happy to see that number increase. That's going to be so helpful. So I'm glad that that worked out. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the problem right now, I will be honest with you, is we don't have a clinician. Centerstone's struggling to find someone to fulfill that role. So December 31st was the last time that we had a clinician in the office.
That is a struggle, and it's not just there. I mean, that's, yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you so much. Let's see if there's any public comment on this item. You raise your hand on Teams or come to the podium. All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the Centerstone MOU for reentry program signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good seeing you. All right.
Move approval of Cultivate Geospatial Enterprise Service Plan for Monroe County. Fund name, cumulative capital, fund number 1138, in the amount of $10,000.
I second.
We have a motion and we have a second. Dr. Baton, good to see you.
Hey, hi everybody. So I'm John Baton, GIS coordinator for Monroe County. We signed a contract with Cultivate Geospatial Solutions last year for 150 hours at $25,000 to really help us kind of bolster our GIS. This has been growing rapidly since we created it, or since we signed on with an enterprise license agreement with Esri. They helped us move our GIS system from a single machine deployment, which was crashing and lagging and doing lots of things we didn't want it to do, into a multi-machine deployment, which we're not experiencing those crashes and lags anymore, which is good. They have a number of experts on the team that are really helping us kind of develop scripts to consolidate data, as well as integrate data that isn't spatial into our spatial data set, particularly from the health department. So it's pretty exciting getting those access databases integrated into our GIS, which is going to help with workflows and getting some of that data out to the public in terms of food inspections and pool inspections and stuff like that. So yeah, this would be a continuation of that, a lower number of hours, because we're kind of in a better situation than we were a year ago. But yeah, that's kind of it. So I'm here for questions and things of that nature.
Great, thank you so much. Comments or questions, Commissioner Madeira?
It sounds like it's very useful. This is wonderful.
Commissioner Jones?
Yeah, it's been exciting to see what's happened in GIS over the last couple of years. It seems to be strengthening noticeably.
One thing that they've been a greater asset to us than just the GIS program. We actually had a lot of old SQL databases that housed old tax information, things like that we've also utilized some of those hours with. So they've become quite an external asset for the county, not just with GIS. So.
Oh, that's a great point.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for all your hard work. Appreciate it. And the way everybody works together. It's so good. All right, let's see if there's any public comment on this item. You can come to the podium or raise your hand on Teams. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the Cultivate Geospatial Enterprise Service Plan for Monroe County signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you, sir.
Great, thank you.
Thanks for being here. Yeah. All right, next item, please.
Move approval of a letter to the Community Foundation regarding the Alexander War Memorial Fund.
I second.
We have a motion. We have a second. We have Mr. Cockrell here to tell us all about it.
Yes, and I know some of you remember when we redid the Alexander War Monument. During that time, we had donations that we received, and the Community Foundation was generous enough to manage those on our behalf. But that was always supposed to be a temporary fund. That project is over. And so this is to request that they close that fund and then forward us the proceeds of what's left, which I think is between $10,000 and $12,000. We will put that in our War Memorial Fund so it can be used for the same purpose as what the donations were intended for.
Thank you so much. Comments or questions? Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't. I'm just pleased to see this happen.
Commissioner Madeira?
Nope, it's just another part of our beautiful courthouse.
Yeah, and yeah, it was an amazing project, and it's nice that there are some funds left over, and the folks who donated can be rest assured that this is to maintain this beautiful monument. It's not going into the county general. That. All right, let's see if there's any public comment on this item. You can raise your hand on Teams or come to the podium. Seeing none, all those in favor of approving the letter to the Community Foundation regarding the Alexander War Memorial Fund signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Next item, please.
Move approval of ordinance 2025-06, amending Monroe County Code Chapter 267 regarding expedited payment of claims.
I second.
We have a motion. We have a second. Mr. Cockrell.
Yes, and we discussed this at last week's work session, so I won't go into great detail. I would say the one minor change that we're asking for is in Section O, we're asking for it to include language that says that it has to be authorized by ordinance, and that's because of a direct result of State Board of Accounts guidance. So that's the only change. Again, this is just kind of updating to how we currently use this and adding a mechanism for us to be able to purchase some vehicles, large equipment, and machinery, and expedited payments. And that's primarily due to the fact that we need to get the plates on the sheriff's patrol vehicles before they expire, because they write tickets for stuff like that, and we don't want to fall into writing tickets for things we're doing.
Comments or questions, Commissioner Madeira?
None.
Commissioner Jones?
Not at this time, thank you.
Yeah, and I think everyone in the auditor's office will be breathing a sigh of relief, having to contact me and get for Ms. Freeman getting DocuSigns done in the last minute. Yes, this will be really good. This will be super good. All right, let's see if there's any public comment on this item. You could raise your hand on Teams or come to the podium. All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving ordinance 2025-06 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0. Thank you. Thank you for working on this. All right, next item, please.
Move approval of Butler, Fairman, and Seifert Supplemental Number 1 for construction inspection services for the completion of the Karst Trail extension. Fund name, West Side TIF and local road and street. Fund number 4920 and 1169 in an amount of $44,000.
I second.
We have a motion. We have a second. We have Ms. Ridge joining us.
Good morning. So we had entered a construction inspection services with Butler Fairman on May 3rd, 2023 for this project. Due to delays in material supply, the project was extended into the spring for some strain pole installations at the traffic signal locations. So the inspection services need to continue so we can close out for the completion of the project. There are no federal funds tied to this phase of the project.
All right, thank you so much. Comments or questions, Commissioner Jones?
No, I don't.
Commissioner Madeira?
No.
All right, I don't either. And we'll see if there's any public comment. You raise your hand on Teams or come to the podium. None. All those in favor of approving the Butler Fairman Seifert Supplemental Number 1 for construction inspection services for the completion of Karst Trail extension signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries 3-0. Thank you so much. All right, we don't have any appointments today, but we do have some announcements. Just a reminder that we are looking for board and commission members, redevelopment commission, animal management board. There are a few others, but if folks would please consider helping Monroe County, sharing your time, your experience and wisdom with us to make our county even better, we would really appreciate it. Go to co.monroe.in.us and click on the boards and commissions to apply. There is office hours. The office hours for the Board of Commissioners 6 times a month, and the main calendar at co.monroe.in.us includes that information. This is just an online Teams meeting. Conversations are confidential if you so wish. And we are still supporting the blood drive at Ivy Tech, Shreve Hall, The next blood drive, Thursday, February 13th, and then also Tuesday, March 4th, Wednesday, March 5th. Thursday, the 13th, 1 to 6 p.m., Tuesday, the 4th, 10 a.m. to 3, and Wednesday, the 5th, from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Please make an appointment at redcross.org. We are always in need of blood products in our community. We do have a Monroe County alert notification system that you're encouraged to sign up for, especially with oncoming spring weather and severe weather season. Go to co.monroe.in.us and click on the megaphone. Anything else for the...
No, we even had some lightning this week.
We did. Strange. And we are not meeting next week. So we will be meeting on the 20th of February at 10 a.m. right here in the Nat U Hill room. We do have a work session agenda. So can we come back at 10:50 for that? Okay, great. With that, we are adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Be safe and be well.